Most non-US business owners believe that accessing American credit as a foreigner is impossible. That's not just wrong, it's actually costing you millions. I'm a non-US citizen who's cracked the code on the American credit system, and what I've discovered will change how you think about building wealth forever. The American credit system isn't just better than any other system on the planet. It's engineered for growth, access, and scale in ways that would blow your mind. While you're stuck playing small with your local banks and limited credit lines, there's an entire financial system waiting for you that most people don't even know exists. That's why in today's video, I'm gonna break down the 6 unfair advantages that you never knew that you can tap into with the American credit system, and why serious business owners should be leveraging it right now. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why sticking with your local credit system is like choosing to drive a bicycle while you've got a Ferrari sitting in your garage. So let's get into this. So reason number 1 is credit limits that actually scale with your ambitions. Now, here's what will shock you about American credit. The average American credit card has access to $30,000 in available credit across all of their credit cards. In fact, the average American salary is around $40,000 per year. That's about 3/4 of their annual salary given as unsecured available credit. And in my own experience, I've never seen another credit system unlike the US which is so generous when it comes to giving people access to money. But here's where it gets crazy. Non-US business owners who understand this system could get access to $100,000, $250,000, or even $1 million plus in available credit without needing income verification. And for myself personally, I've got access to $250,000 in American credit. You see, the American credit system is built on a simple principle, and that is your ability to manage your credit, which is more important than your current income. Think about it like this. Would you rather lend to someone who makes $200,000 a year, but is spending irresponsibly and can't pay his bills on time, or to someone that is making $80,000 a year, but is managing his credit responsibly? And remember, you're leveraging the strongest economies in the world. I'm sure you know the answer is quite obvious. Compare this to most international credit systems where you'd be lucky to get half the available credit that the average American has in their credit cards. That's why in Canada, the UK, Australia, Germany, wealthy business owners even struggle to get their hands on $50,000 in available credit. Now, that's why I believe that the American credit system solves that problem. You see, as a Canadian myself, I've seen non-US citizens get their hands on $250,000 in available US credit within the first 18 months of starting their journey. And I'm living proof of it because after following the step-by-step process to access American credit cards, I got my hands on multiple US credit cards, which means $250,000 at 0% interest. And that's not to show, it's not luck, it's just following a proven plan. And as a side note, most non-US citizens believe that this sounds too good to be true. I'm telling you, that is the first thing that I always hear when I speak to non-US business owners that never even knew that this was possible. That's why I believe that American banks compete for your business, while international banks treat credit like they're doing you a favor. Now let's move on to the second reason, and that is interest funding that actually exists. You see, most non-US business owners pay between 8 to 30% interest on business loans or credit cards. In fact, some non-US business owners use Stripe Capital or other high-interest e-commerce loans to fund their business. Meanwhile, Americans regularly access 12 to 21 month periods of 0% interest. Yes, that is 0% interest of unsecured credit. Now keep in mind, most non-US business owners, they can get a loan, but they cannot get access to this level of unsecured credit. Now what does that mean by unsecured credit? It's pretty simple. It basically means that you've got that money that's available to you, but you don't have to use it right away. And that means that you aren't forced to pay interest on money that you borrowed. It's unsecured capital whenever you want to use it. In fact, if you're actually smart in the US credit system, you'll learn how to use business credit cards to get 0% interest terms forever. But I'm not going to talk about that in this video. Let's stick with the basics. But let me put this in perspective for you. If you borrow $50,000 at a 12% interest rate, that is about $6,000 in interest that you'll need to pay by the end of the year. If you access the same $50,000 at 0% interest, you pay exactly $0 in interest for the first 12 to 21 months. Now imagine that across multiple credit cards, multiple years, multiple business cycles. Just think about how much money you could make with this kind of leverage, and how much money you probably lost without having access to this US credit system. In fact, I personally know non-US business owners that have gotten approvals like these and use that capital to scale their business faster than their competition who are paying traditional loan rates. The math is actually quite simple when you're not paying any interest. More of your revenue growth goes towards you instead of feeding the bank, and that means more money for yourself so you can reinvest back into your company. But most business owners don't realize that this isn't about only saving money on interest. This is about speed, because while you're waiting on an approval for a loan and jumping through bureaucratic hoops, a non-US business owner with American credit cards can get an approval within minutes. And capital that moves faster wins. So now let's move on to reason number 3, which is building personal and business credit simultaneously. Now this is where it gets interesting. Every other credit system makes you choose between personal or business credit. The American system lets you build both at the same time using the same strategy. Now here's how this works in practice. You start with your personal credit and you build up that FICO score and establish a credit history. But instead of stopping there, which most non-US business owners do, you can use those same spending patterns and payment behaviors to qualify for business credit cards. Business credit cards that don't report to your personal credit unless you default. So those business credit cards don't hurt your personal credit, but they do build your business credit, which unlocks entirely separate pools of funding. Now think of it like having 2 credit profiles instead of 1. Your personal profile is the doors to the premium credit cards, the premium travel credit cards, and lifestyle benefits. Meanwhile, your business profiles opens up the access to 6-figure credit lines, 0% interest funding, equipment financing, and doors to important banking relationships. Most international systems cap you at one or the other, or even make it impossible with unlimited paperwork to advance. However, the American credit system gives you that flexibility, which means double the available credit, double the funding options, and double the financial flexibility. Now let's move on to the 4th reason, which is points and rewards that actually build real wealth. And this one is a big one for me because I travel a lot going in hotels and whatnot. So most international credit cards get between 0.5%, 1%, 2% as cash back if you're lucky. But from my own personal experience, American credit cards are literally money printing machines. You see, the average American credit card gives you 2 to 7x points on spending categories based on the card. And with elite credit cards, you immediately unlock $5,000 to $10,000 worth of points just for having that card. In fact, most non-US business owners who decide to move forward with us to get access to the American credit system, they typically unlock $10,000 worth of travel points right once they step into the US credit system. I know a non-US business owner who booked me a flight back when I was struggling to get my hands on American credit cards, struggling with my Canadian credit cards with lower value points and lower rewards for spending on that credit card. So he paid a $15,000 business class seat entirely with his credit card points. And do you know what it actually cost him? It was about $1,000 worth of credit card points. That is exactly why I wanted to learn more about travel hacking as a non-US citizen. That's basically a $15,000 flight for $1,000. Points that he earned anyways just because he's running a successful company. But here's where it really gets interesting. If you're a non-US business owner who's running ads, you're booking flights, you're booking hotels, paying for software subscriptions, or even purchasing inventory, American credit cards multiply the value of those dollars. Every dollar you are already spending on your business becomes worth 2 to 3 points in value. I personally believe that the American rewards ecosystem is so sophisticated that there are entire communities how to earn hundreds of thousands of points annually. Some of them call it travel hacking, but in all honesty, it's really just leveraging a superior financial credit system to your advantage. So on to the 5th reason, which is approval speeds that matches your business reality. Traditional business loans take between 2 to 6 months for non-US citizens and take about another 2 to 5 months for approval. But when you have the right banking connections and establish personal credit in the US, American credit cards can get approved within an instant. In fact, we actually had a recent German client that started to work with us. And what happened with her is essentially she was making really good money with her company in Germany. Now, the problem here is that the banks in Germany were giving her a hard time to actually get access to higher credit limits. They told her that she would need to wait months to get access to that kind of capital. And immediately when she started to learn that she could start leveraging leveraging the American financial system, she started working with us and soon enough started getting better offers than the relationships that she set up for 10 plus years. The American banks were giving her better offers, higher credit limits, and lower interest rates. You see, the American credit system is built for non-US business owners who understand opportunities, and they don't wait for bureaucracy. While most traditional funding systems are designed around the idea of borrowing money should be difficult and slow, the American credit system operates on the principle that good borrowers should have fast access to capital. Because in all my years of business experience, I've seen that some non-US business owners can scale faster than other businesses because of quick access to capital and better terms. Now let this sink in for a second. Imagine all the opportunities that you lost or even will potentially lose in the future because you just didn't have access to the American financial system. And this is exactly why I'm so passionate about the US credit system. And now let's move on to the sixth reason, which is actually quite compelling to some people, which is real estate and investments. Now I'm going to be transparent. Without American credit, you're treated as a foreign national borrower. That means that if you want to get into the real estate game in America, it's going to be hard. You'll have 20 to 40% down payments, higher interest rates, and restrictive terms. In fact, the American financial system is the system that has created the most millionaires in the world, all thanks to the best cash flowing properties in the real estate game. However, if you get your hands on American credit as a non-US citizen, regardless of the fact that you live in the US or you do not live in the US, you'll be treated as a domestic borrower. You see, if a property is worth over $500,000, as a non-US citizen with zero American credit, you'll be charged foreign national terms, which means a $200,000 down payment and interest rates between 7 to 8%. However, if you're a non-US citizen but you've got American credit, you'll typically be able to put a lower down payment, which could be around $50,000, and a much lower interest rate around 4 to 5%. Now that is a big difference. You see, if you knew how to fully take advantage of the US credit system, like my private clients are currently doing, you could be leveraging business credit to be purchasing a property at 0% interest rates. And that's pretty insane if you ask me. You're basically using your business credit cards, which you've got $100,000, $200,000 on at 0% interest rates, and you're using that as the down payment. In fact, that means that you could potentially save $150,000 and reduce your interest payments by $15,000 to $20,000. But what if I told you it doesn't even stop there? If you've got access to American credit as a non-US citizen, you can leverage home equity lines of credit as leverage to purchase your next properties. This could unlock game-changing advantages that will compound over time. Every property that you acquire with better terms give you cash flow, more equity, and more borrowing power for the next deal. And in my opinion, the American real estate market is the most liquid in the world with the most sophisticated financing options. But it's only available if you've got access to American credit. Now here's what schools don't teach us. Every wealthy person that I meet understands geographic arbitrage. You see, they don't limit themselves to only one financial system. They use the best tools from the best systems to maximize their wealth building potential. Keep this in mind. The American financial system isn't just available for Americans. It's available for anyone that's smart enough to understand how this system works and persistent enough to navigate it properly. While most business owners are stuck thinking small, imagine how jealous your local competitors will be when they see that you've got access to six figures at 0% interest. There's an entire process behind getting access to the best credit cards in the world. And most non-US citizens have no idea it even exists. Not because US credit is only available to US residents, and not even because they aren't eligible, but because they don't know the exact strategy to get it, or even have the right guidance to avoid mistakes that will set them back by months or even years. In fact, most non-US business owners who try to figure it all out alone end up getting denied applications, damaged credit profiles, and wasted opportunities. The smart approach is not only learning from people who already have access to American credit, but those who built the right banking relationships in 2025. Because I believe that the American financial system is the real way to build wealth, but that's only if you know how to use it correctly. If you use it the wrong way, you'll get mediocre results as everyone else. So now that you know that accessing the US credit system is the best thing that you can possibly do for your business and yourself in 2025, watch Watch this video right here where I break down the exact step-by-step process to access US credit. And if you found this valuable, hit the subscribe button and do leave me a comment if you found this valuable. I read every single comment and reply to most of them. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.